Hi, friends. Oh, I'm so glad you came today. Hey, friend, have you ever built anything out of Legos? You have? Oh, very cool. Do you want to know what my favorite thing to do with Legos is? I love to get a whole big pile of Legos and then I click them all together and I make the tallest tower that anyone has ever seen. Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do with Legos. I've made some really tall towers. I mean, they eventually normally fall over, but that's okay. I have fun doing it. You know what? Just like when you snap Legos together to make some really cool things, we use parts of numbers to build bigger numbers, right? And one number that I love to build all the time is the number 10. I love the 10 and I love the parts that make up the 10. As a matter of fact, I like to call different parts that make 10 the 10 friends, or some people call them 10 partners. I like 10 friends. It's so super fun that we have 10 friends that are bopping around with us all day, every day, right? With our counting sticks, we have 10 of those. And I love using my counting sticks to move my fingers around to see how I can build 10 with different numbers, right? That's so fun. And then I also love using the number 10 when I'm doing math work and I want to do a nice drawing to show my thinking because using 10 helps to keep me organized as well. So 10 is just super helpful, right? And actually, today we're going to use 10 to help us subtract. What? How are we going to do that? I'm going to tell you right now, friends. Our learning goal for today says I can use what I know about the parts of 10 to subtract from 10. Okay, so the parts of 10 are just the 10 friends or the 10 partners, and we're going to use what we know about how we go about creating those to help us subtract from 10. All right, are you ready to find out how that actually works? Okay, perfect. Let me show you. All right, so if I have this number sentence, 10 minus 6 equals something, why do I have the empty box there, friend? Yeah, because I don't know what it equals yet, right? I don't know that missing part. See, right away, I know 10 is the total amount, 6 is just a part of that 10, the part that I'm going to take away. And then I have another part that's left over. So let's see. Remember, we said we're going to think about what we know about the parts of 10 or the 10 partners. And that's going to help us when we're solving subtraction problems. So let's see. What do I know? Well, I know 6 is clearly a part of 10. So I'm going to use my counting sticks and I'm just going to start with 6. Okay, there we go. So if 6 is part of 10, what could I do to figure out how many more counting sticks I need to make 10? Yeah, I could just put up the other fingers, right? Yes, because all together, when I have all my counting sticks standing nice and tall, that makes 10. So now I just have to look very carefully on how many did I have to add to go from 6 to 10. Well, how many do you see there, friend? Yeah, I added 4. Okay, so if I have 6 counting sticks and I add 4, then I'm going to get 10 total. Okay, do you see how we created 10 using the parts of 6 and 4? Wonderful. Now I got to really dig into my brain because if I use this number bond, and if 10 up here is the total amount, and 6 was one of the parts, well, if 6 is one of the parts, we already figured it out. What's the other part? Yeah, 4. Okay, do you see where we're headed with this? So if 6 and 4 are the parts of 10, then when I go back up here to my number sentence that has subtraction, 10 minus 6 equals, well, what does it have to equal? It has to equal the other part, right? Which is 4. Okay. Do you see how we use 6 plus 4 to equal 10 to help us with 10 minus 6 equals 4? Hmm. I want you to go ahead. I want you to press pause and talk with a buddy. How did we use, and try to explain to one another, how did we use 6 plus 4, those 10 partners, to help us know that 10 minus 6 is equal to 4? Press pause and tell them what we did, and then press play when you're ready. Okay, yeah, we're working really hard to try to figure this out. So let's try another one, okay? All right, so here we have 10 minus 3 equals something, and I'm not too sure. So, what I'd like you to do, I want you to go ahead and press pause. I want you to go get a dry erase board and a marker because I'm going to have you fill in some things in just a minute, okay? And then once you have your dry erase board and marker or a piece of paper and a pencil, press play when you're ready. Okay, so now that you have your paper and pencil or your dry erase board and a marker, can you go ahead and write that number sentence like I did on my board? 10 minus 3 equals the unknown, or something that we have no idea yet, okay? Now make sure when you're writing your number sentence that you're keeping it nice and straight so we can clearly see it organized. And then also that you're putting a box right there for the unknown instead of a question mark, because we want to leave a space for what we're not sure about. Okay, are you ready? Okay, so if we know 10 minus 3 equals something, we're going to think about what we know about 10 friends and 10 partners to use that 3 to figure out the unknown. Okay, so here we go. So put down your pencil, put down your marker, and using your counting sticks, can you show me 3 really fast? Perfect. There's 3. Okay, now if we're trying to get to 10, can you show me 10? Okay, so we went from 3 to 10. So how do we figure out the other part that goes with 3 to make 10? Yeah, we have to count those counting sticks, right? Can you count them with me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have to add 7 if we want to get 10 total. Okay, so on your dry erase board, can you draw this number bond? I'm going to have you draw that number bond and then fill in what you think the unknown part is using our addition number sentence that we just created. Press pause while you do that and then press play when you're ready to check yourself, okay? Okay, friends, did you finish filling in that number bond? Okay, so if we have 10 total and 3 was one of the parts, well, we know if we have 3, we have to add how many to get to 10? Yeah, 7 more. So what's the other part that goes in our number bond? 7. Exactly. Is that what you had? Yay. Good job, friends. Okay. So if we know that 3 and 7 together make 10, then we also know that 10 minus 3 must equal. Can you go ahead and finish that number sentence at the top? Okay. What's our unknown in our subtraction number sentence? Yes, 7. Good job, friend. Awesome. See, if we know the partners that make 10, then we know the parts of 10, and then that helps us with our subtraction sentence. Ah, I love it so much. Okay, erase your board, find a new spot on your piece of paper or pencil. We're going to do another one. All right, here we go. Ooh, this is a biggie. 10 minus 8 equals something, or the unknown. Can you go ahead, press pause? Can you go ahead and I would like you to put that in, or go ahead and write that number sentence down on your piece of paper and pencil or your dry erase board with your marker? Okay, press play when you're ready. Okay, so we're going to use what we know about partners of 10 to figure out that subtraction sentence. So using our counting sticks, what should we do first? You know what? Press pause, tell a buddy, and then press play to check yourself, okay? Okay, so what are we going to do first? I love it. We're going to think of our counting sticks, and we're going to go ahead and show what part do we already know. Okay, so what part do we already know? Yep, we know 8, so let's go ahead and show 8. Here we go. All right, we have our 8 counting sticks up. Now, how many more do we need to add to 8 to get to 10? Can you show me on your counting sticks? Perfect. How many more do we need to add, friend? Yes, 2. So I want you, since we know we had 8 and we had to add 2 more, can you go ahead and write an addition number sentence to show how we made 10 using 8? Okay, so we had 8 plus how many equals 10? Press pause while you write that addition sentence and then press play to check yourself. Okay, do you have an addition sentence showing the 2 parts of that make 10 using 8 and another number? Okay, so we had 8, and then we added how many more fingers, friends? Yeah, 2. So 8 plus 2 equals 10. Is that what your number sentence looked like? Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. Perfect. Okay, so if we know 8 plus 2 are the partners that make 10, then of course we should be able to fill in this number bond. So I want you to go ahead and write the number bond on your board or on your paper. Press pause while you do it. And I only have one of the parts filled in, but can you fill the other part in too? All right, do that and then press play when you're ready. Okay, do you have the number bond filled in? Well, from our counting sticks, we knew that when you added 8 plus 2, you got 10. So if 10 is the total amount at the top and 8 is one of the parts, what's our other part? Ding, ding, ding. Perfect. It's 2. Totally right. And then that helps us with our subtraction sentence because if we know that 8 plus 2 are the parts that make 10, then we know if we have 10 and we take away 8 as one of the parts, what's left over? Exactly 2. Oh my goodness, friends, you did amazing today. Our learning goal says I can use what I know about the parts of 10 to subtract from 10. And that's exactly what we did. If you want to, I recommend just quizzing a buddy, like having a fun time, showing parts of 10, and then having them figure out what the other part is. So if you show 4 counting 6, have them show on their hands the other part to make 10 if you were to add your counting 6 to theirs. And just do fun games like that to practice knowing those parts of 10 really quickly. It's going to be super helpful when we're doing our math, and especially when we're doing stuff like subtracting from 10. All right, have fun, friends.